Hello, I'm Rico Caviglia, and this is your Ageless Body Self-Care Guide, your operations manual for your body and for your mind. And the title of today's session is Body Awake Yoga. And I'm truly excited about this session because our expert teacher, her work is a mind, body, and spiritual approach for using the energy that is available to us for healing and for living a purposeful, healthy, and joyful long life that we were meant to live. So our expert today is Dr. Sue Morter. She's an international speaker, author, and master of bioenergetics medicine and a quantum field visionary. Dr. Sue utilizes the embodiment of high frequency energy patterns to activate full human potential. And through her seminars, retreats, and presentations, she illuminates the relationships of quantum thoughts and energy medicine for the elevation of human consciousness and life mastery. Wow, that sounds pretty good to me. So Dr. Sue Morter, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my great pleasure, my delight to be here. And I look forward to seeing where we can go with our conversation today. Definitely.
Yeah, again, well, thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really, it's going to be kind of a unique and really interesting, quite different than a lot of our other sessions. So I think what would be helpful before we talk about your new advanced form of yoga practice called Body Awake, I think it would be helpful for our viewers to talk a little bit about your work so they get a little bit more familiar with what your work's all about.
Sure. So about 20 years ago, I had a tremendous awakening in consciousness through meditation practices and was literally lifted into a multi-dimensional transcendental place for the first time. I was just learning to meditate and I instantly started having these multi-dimensional experiences. And basically, just to kind of cut to the chase and make it really quick, I use this image when I'm teaching a lot, and I just saw it sitting here. So this is who we think we are, this human being walking around on the surface of the planet. And I had this illumination experience up here in this high brain center that as my third eye opened, and I began to have the most, transformational experience in my life. In that moment, I could see 360 degrees in every direction. I was in a light so brilliantly bright, it was 10 times brighter than the brightest day in the desert that I had ever seen. And I could see the earth beneath me about the size of a marble. And I was embedded into it up to what would have been my knees. But that's how exalted my consciousness was. I could sense and perceive these things, but it was in a totally different reality. And this was, it was an amazing experience for me because trained as a scientist, that wasn't the world I was living in. I was a clinician who was interested in natural health care and getting outcomes for people without, drugs and surgery, et cetera, and spent my whole life that way. In fact, I grew up in a realm. My father was a pioneer in energy medicine and quantum science, and I've never been to the doctor to take an antibiotic for an ailment. I've never gone and gotten a prescription for an antibiotic to help heal something because of the body's natural ability to heal if all those systems are aligned properly. So I was minding my own business, being a doctor, helping lots of people in that way, and yet I was drawn to meditation. And so instantly had this experience and realized that there was something magnificent here. So I spent the next 10 years in my life, turning my life into a living laboratory to determine how to reproduce that experience and how to access that state of consciousness on an ongoing basis. And as I began to put those pieces together, I started sharing it with my patients, and they started getting better faster and staying better longer and just having a different overall experience with their health. And so I started to codify what was going on here, what was happening, that they were healing faster and really aligning and integrating so much more quickly. And so I put those things together, and that is what is in my book, The Energy Codes, which is basically an instruction manual on how to anchor our highest consciousness in the core of the body. Because what I realized was, there is a version of our lives that is not oriented on this stimulus response, 5 sensory reality that we are used to living in, that there's a basic raw energetic underneath and behind the scenes that is actually holding the space for this whole life experience that we're having. Quantum science is teaching us that everything is energy, including you, including me. That's it. Is we're just energy. Our thoughts are energy. Our emotions are energy. Our health is a certain vibrational frequency of energy. Our disease is a different vibrational radio station of that energy as well. And so what I recognize that using the breath and being able to utilize different sacred geometries that are the yoga asana, or the position that we put ourselves in a yoga pose, for instance, all had a combined effort in how this energy could flow more freely through the body versus in any distorted fashion. Let me just pop up another picture quickly just to show you what I'm talking about. Basically, the bioenergetics of the human system are that this energy pours down through the body and hits the earth and then rises back up, and it comes around out the crown of the head. This is very measurable, and comes around back in and enters the body again at the tip of the spine, rises up through the core of the body, separates again, comes around the outside. It is electromagnetic energy, is polarized and moves. And as long as we are integrated, this energy moves in a perfected fashion. If we have distortions, such as you see here, where the energy is having to go back and forth and find the path of least resistance, then it creates a distortion in this field. And this individual is standing here looking out through this distortion and seeing a world that isn't kind, that doesn't give them opportunities, that doesn't allow them to flourish or to be successful or to heal. What causes this distortion is this wobble in the rising energy through the body. What causes the wobble in the rising energy through the body is unresolved emotion and an unintegrated state of mind. Meaning, if we are externally oriented and reacting to everyone and reacting to the world and trying to find our way from a survivorship angle, life is pretty tough, and we don't heal, and we certainly don't have this ageless disposition in life. We start to age prematurely, in fact. And when those distortions start to remedy because we're learning how to move the energy more specifically and in a more harmonious fashion through the body starts to heal. I had a scoliosis in my spine, which is a curvature of the spine that looks a whole lot like this. And it stands to reason how that curvature could exist if the energy flow is following that kind of pattern, because our physical bodies mirror what the energy is doing. If the energy is blocked in our body, we have blocked physical health and vitality. We have blocked abundance in our external life experience as well. When that energy is flowing and is harmonious and balanced and strong and vital, the same is true with our health and the vital force in our lives and our ability to establish abundance in our relationships and in our workplace, in our health, etc. So just tying it all together that way.
Yeah. Wow, Dr. Sue, you answered a lot of my questions and all that. That was so well said. So I think what might be helpful to our viewers, if you could define some of the terms that people may not be really knowledgeable about. And one thing I wanted to say was, I think the first most important message for all what you've been saying is that we are so much more powerful than we know that we are, and we're so much capable, and there's so much more to learn and to experience than we are normally taught in our life. So I think that's a great message. And you have the ways to how we can tap into that. So, but maybe let's give a couple definitions. So like, what do you mean? What's the definition of bioenergetic medicine?
Okay, so energy medicine is the use of energy for healing. And there are lots of different ways and applications and modalities along those lines. Acupuncture, for one, is an energy medicine technique that has been available for thousands of years, that, that involves the insertion of small needles in the body to redirect energy flow, and it pulls the energy differently through the body. Well, the work that we're doing, we pull that energy differently through the body without the use of the needles, by use of the mind and by use of the breath. And actually anyone can do it. It isn't something that you have to have a special training or special history or background in order to do, which is one of the things that I love about it. And so bioenergetics means the energy of your body. So science is showing us that everything in the material world is energy. The chair that someone is sitting on right now is energy. It's just compressed energy. It's compressed so tight that it creates mass. Our physical body is also energy that is just compressed. And so when we're working with energy, we can decompress it a little bit, we can allow more spaciousness inside the body and allow energies to flow through the body that facilitate the movement of nerve impulses and our cardiovascular flow and our hormonal flow and our lymphatic flow and our digestive flow, and all having an effect on our immune system. So we want to be robust and strong and vital in this world, especially now that this is, more of a concern for people. It's always been very, very important. It's always been the most important thing. But right now our attention is on it. And it's just important that we explain inside this conversation today that we all have the capacity to remain vital and strong and to have robust immune systems and to be literally getting younger all the time if we're utilizing our power to let this energy move. Stuck energy makes us old. Stuck energy causes pain. Stuck energy causes disease. So we have to learn ways to move the energy and to get it flowing in that flow, just as I was pointing out a few moments ago. It's easy to do, it's not complicated, and it is something that anyone can learn. And this is what I love about it, that we do have the power in our own hands to not only sustain or improve our health, but to also ensure that we're operating on a creative genius rather than survivorship. When we're focused on survivorhood, we are constantly on the defense and guardedness and afraid and trying to avoid and dodge anything that might be dangerous. And that is not a way to live. It's not what we're designed to be doing here. So just as you said, we're operating on only a fraction of our circuitry. So what I'm teaching people how to do is to plug in more circuitry inside their nervous system and their electromagnetic energy flow through their body so that they have more vital force and more stamina and more interest in new projects and creativity and innovation than guardedness and protectiveness and defensiveness.
Wow, such a great message. Thank you so much for that. Such a great message. And again, I just want to emphasize that, that we are energy beings, and we are eternal spiritual beings, and we can do so much more, and we're meant to live much greater lives than most people are. So I really, again, appreciate your work so much. So maybe one more definition might be helpful is talk a little bit about what energy fields are, and there's different layers of energy, and so people can kind of understand what's available to them.
Sure. I have another image here. This is our physical body, and this is who we think we are, but actually we are the energy that is compressing itself and creating a body that will carry us around through this world, through this life. So we are actually the energy out here, and we're compressing and compressing and compressing and compressing and generating this vehicle that will allow us to move about in this world. So when we start to wake up to these layers of our being, we start to become more and more empowered. When we realize that we have mastery over how these energies operate, everything starts to change. So there's this etheric body right here. That's a layer that involves the chakra system. People might be familiar with the energy centers called the chakra system that influence the endocrine glands, which allow our chemistries to be healthy and vital, etc. And there's another layer out from there that is the emotional body, which can also be used as a feeling body. And it's important for people to realize that there's a difference between the two. Our emotional body is something that we react inside of. When our emotions are triggered, where it's a reaction. But this same bandwidth of energies is designed to give us a clue. It's like a gut feeling and a hunch or a lump in your throat that lets you know that something's just off base here. Something's not quite right here. And it allows us to head things off at the pass if we learn how to work with that energy directly and consciously and intentionally. The next one out here is our mental body, which is where our thoughts and our beliefs and our limiting beliefs are stored and housed, and we get tangled up in quite a mess in that layer of energy until we learn how to clear it out, how to work with it, and how to manage it in a way so that we're harnessing that power instead of letting it overpower us. These are layers of our own spiritual reality that have to do with our karmic body and our ascension and descension capacity to raise our vibrational frequency for healing and for a different bird's eye view on life. When you can see life from a bird's eye view, it's a whole lot less stressful than when you're caught up in it and thinking that this situation at hand is everything. And really, it's going to come and it's going to go and we're going to be fine. But sometimes it's hard to remember that in those moments. So these bandwidths of energy out here, once they are activated, it allows us to remember that kind of disposition a lot more easily. There are multiple more layers that just go on forever and they connect us. Like this will go into the field of someone else and there's another individual standing right here. So these fields overlap with each other. And in this way, we have a tremendous influence by unifying. People are interested in unity consciousness and everyone getting along and finding a way not to be a bully and not to just say anything that comes to your mind or to be deflective or defensive, but to rather be open and to be loving and to be kind to one another. And when we start to activate these outer layers of energy through Body Awake Yoga and through the Energy Codes breath work that I teach, it allows us to automatically have a come from that is bonding and that is unifying and that is allowing for our connectivity to be a real and palpable experience in our lives so that we don't feel so alone and isolated and is as if it's all up to us. Rather, we have the support that we are truly designed to be experiencing in life. So those are a few of the layers of energy that we tie them all together and work with it automatically. So it's not like you have to learn the details of all that in order to start working with the actual energetic, the bioenergetic healing capacity that is available to us.
Wow, that's so well expressed. Thank you so much. You know, what comes to my mind again, I think it's important to let our viewers know too that, as you said, everything is energy and everything's vibration and everything's connected. We're all connected. Everything affects everything else. I think that's an important thing to understand, as you were mentioning. And isn't that true too, that since everything, it's all about really raising up our vibration. And I just wanted to add it. Don't you know how so many people always talk about the law of attraction, but isn't the main thing about the law of attraction is whatever you really want to create in your life, that's at a high vibration, right? But the reason maybe you're not attracting it because you're not operating at the higher vibration. So when you can raise up your vibration, like by doing all the things that you teach, you raise up your vibration, and then you're matching those high vibration things that you really want in your life, and that's how you can achieve that's how you can achieve those things. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. There is also another part to that I love to teach with people, and that is that when we raise our vibration, we become aware of things that we just weren't aware of before, that are right here at hand. That it's not that we have to go over there and achieve this thing, or that we have to call it here to us, that it's actually this revealing of our own abundance that is right here. And we can't see it at a low vibration. We just can't see it. We have blinders on. We just can't see beyond the blinder. But what happens when we raise our consciousness, it's raising the energetic vibration. It allows us to see from this bird's eye view. It allows us to see life from a different perspective. And when we can see life from this higher perspective, everything changes in that we see opportunity and we see love and we see joy and we see ourselves as whole and complete instead of assuming that there's something wrong or something broken or that something's missing. And it is so important that people realize that raising your vibration means that your frequencies are free. Your energetic frequencies are available and they're not hooked in to some belief that you're not enough or that there's no future or there's no opportunity or you're stuck in your life circumstances, because it isn't true, but it certainly can feel true if we don't know how to see it any other way. So we're building more neurocircuits, like neurosynapses, that allow a combination of energies to move up through the primitive brain, that allow high brain centers that are on the other side of that primitive brain to become activated. Those high brain executive centers are the ones that make level-headed choices, that also imagine and dream and can create something, and they can see how to create it. But oftentimes we're stuck in these lower brain activities that are very survival based. So when we talk about raising your vibration, it's about building more synapses so that you can activate these higher brain centers and operate from a creative standpoint, not a defensive survival standpoint. But until we have those circuits in place, we can't perceive it. Let me just give a short example.
Sure.
Everybody knows that if you're asked make a decision on something, right now, make a decision. And oftentimes people will say, I need more information. I just don't know. I need to investigate it. I need to think about it. I need to just sit with this, but I need more information before I feel good making this decision. And that's my point. That more information is what allows us to feel safe enough that we can transcend that primitive brain and activate up here in these high brain centers. But we can achieve more information in different ways than we think. We think we have to go research more, or have somebody teach us something more, or we have to have more experience. And it isn't that kind of information. There are 11 billion bits of information that are bombarding your system every millisecond. That's a lot of information. We have enough information. But if we don't have the circuits in place to perceive that information, to interpret that information, it might as well not be here. It just goes right over our head. It literally goes right past us, and we don't see it, we don't feel it, we don't recognize it, we don't access it, and therefore we can't benefit from it. So what I'm teaching people how to do is how to perceive more of that information that is right here. It's in the form of your deep knowing, your eternal wisdom. It's right here to be cultivated. And so I'm teaching people how to breathe in a way that awakens it, that activates it and integrates our ability to interpret it. And I'm teaching people how to move their bodies in a way that facilitate that integration even more. And working with how to move this energy through the body also translates to healing on every level. Healing physically, healing pain patterns, healing mentally and emotionally stressful situations or circumstances or dispositions like anxiety and depression and procrastination and addiction. These kinds of things are healing because people are starting to learn how to integrate all of their faculties that they haven't even been using and pull them together the way they were supposed to be. But nobody ever taught us how to do this. We were raised not doing that. We were raised thinking and worrying and analyzing and stressing and making sure you get safe before, get yours while the getting's good. And, it's just very scarcity oriented and fear-based, this life we've been living. Yeah. And it's painful and it doesn't need to be. So we're here to change that.
Yeah, so I think the main message is here, you don't need to go looking for more information externally. It's already, you need to go inside. You already have all the information you need.
Yes.
Go inside.
You need to learn how to read that information, how to perceive it, because it's been there all along, but we weren't feeling it. We didn't know. We were up here in our heads just, trying to make all of our decisions as quickly as we could. And, at the end of the day, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to get the job done. So, and likewise, it's not helpful sometimes to just say, you have all the answers within, grasshopper, go find them. And if people are like, I'm looking, I don't know I don't see anything. I can't feel, I got nothing. And it isn't true. We just have to learn the language of the body and the language of the soul. The language of this wisdom has its own way of speaking and presenting itself. And that's what we have to learn. And it's very learnable. That's what I learned on my own in the 10 years that I turned my life into a living laboratory to figure out how in the world to integrate, this energy in this way, and to have, this thing here, this higher self version of me be able to drop into my life here on the planet and walk around with all of this information coming through me. And that's what happens now. I'm allowing it to come through me. And that's what I'm teaching people how to do, because every single person on this planet has the ability to do that. It isn't just the select and the special and the few and the gifted. It is time for humanity. And I feel that is why we are in these times right now. It's causing this hiccup in the road in the way that things that we used to operate and do life. It just was never going to activate us into our true full potential. And so now we're being forced into this small box and being asked to be creative inside that box. Figure out a way to make your life work with all the parameters changed. And that activates our creativity, which is very, very good for us. And we can hook that on to the types of techniques that I'm teaching people how to do, and they'll learn how to manage that and benefit from these times more than ever in their lives, so that this isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. And it's very obvious how.
Wow. I love how you were able to express that so well. That was so good. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Well, okay, we better get into a little bit of the body awake yoga here. So, but first I even have a question on that. So what do you mean by awake? What's your definition of awake?
Okay, so people live in their heads, and their energy is out here above their head and around their body, and it's not really anchored in the body. Our consciousness is very heady oriented. It's not supposed to be, but that's the way we utilize it. Really tough to get access to your gut feelings if you're living up here. If you're living all the way down here in your whole body, your gut feelings are very accessible. So we have to bring our wakeful consciousness down into the body and wake things up in the body so that we have access to the levels of consciousness that reside there. Let me just kind of give you another image here to kind of think about. So each of these different colors represents a chakra center in the body, but they also represent a level of consciousness, a way of thinking. If this chakra is active and awake and enlivened, we feel very strong and clear and sure of ourselves, and we take action in the direction of what we want and what we choose, and it works out, period. And if it's not awake and is shut down, we are constantly hem-hawing, we constantly feel nervous, we're constantly looking for some kind of solution, some kind of help. We're nervous all the time, we don't feel comfortable in our own skin. The next one, the next one, the next one, the next one have all of their own versions of that same thing. One is awake, one is asleep. So what we're saying is we need to awaken all of these levels of consciousness so that our relationships and our deep wisdom have a flourishing role in our lives, so that our personal power is online and active all the time, and our esteem comes right with it, so that our ability to love unconditionally ourselves and others is right here at hand, and our ability to manifest the things that we dream of or desire, and that even the permission to dream, it's all right in here. And as we do so, we awaken to the fact that we are not just this human being with these 5 senses to depend upon to get through life, but we're actually a multidimensional being. We're actually a spiritual being that has multiple points of reference that we can draw from, that allow divine energies and thoughts and ideas to move through us and to have outcomes that are truly miraculous in our lives. So these kinds of there are lots more too, above and beyond the body, et cetera, that I work with. But basically, what we're doing is anchoring this consciousness in the core of the body so that it can start to enliven these aspects of our own wholeness that we didn't have access to before, so that we start living in this proactive kind of way that is creating our life instead of reacting to a life that someone else is creating for us. So body awake yoga is about breath work and putting the body in positions and working with aspects of consciousness and working with the raw energy that automatically dissolves limiting beliefs. It automatically keeps us no longer held hostage by our limiting beliefs, but allows us to work with the raw energy that we are instead. Working with the raw energy that we are instead of working with life on this thinking analytical level allows the mind to realize that it's a lot safer than it thought it was, because it can feel a sense of well-being. When the mind can sense a feeling of well-being, it starts to slow down. And when it slows down, this soulful self can rise up and start having the life that it came here to have. But as long as the mind is nervous and acting like this whirring, blades of a ceiling fan, this essential self is never going to rise up through that. It's going to just hang out right down here. Who wants to get their finger cut off, right? So we have to learn how to slow the mind down so that we can get out and experience a greater version of ourselves beyond our believing box that we live inside of. So that's what we're doing.
So well said again. I just love how you express things. Well, before you talk a little bit about the real a little bit more explain what body awake yoga is and what you do in the class. I just wanted to add, one time some, I guess reporters, they were interviewing Buddha, and they asked Buddha, are you God? And Buddha's answer was, no, I am awake. That was his answer. But Buddha was awake. So I just want to put that in about being awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us really, okay, so what does someone experience? What's different about your yoga class, and how did they experience this, what you've been talking about?
Oh, sure. So one can go to yoga, even if they're living in their head, and they go into the yoga class and they worry about, am I doing this right? I'm comparing myself to the person next to me. Oh, they're so much stronger, so much more flexible. How am I ever going to do this?
Yeah.
That's yoga from your head.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm doing is teaching people how to come down into their body and breathe energy down into the body, so it starts to enliven these energy centers. It starts to change our chemistry. It starts to change the nerve impulses that are running up and down the brain, up and down the spinal cord, and affecting the body and giving feedback to the body that all is well on every level, on the chemical level, on the neurological level, on the mental and emotional level, etc. And so what we're doing is teaching people how to work with, let me see, maybe these energies to correct for these distortions that you see, to build the circuit straight through these areas so that this perfected field gets established where healing happens. And so inside of the yoga class, I'm constantly reminding people and teaching them how to breathe and what to pay attention to and how to work with these energies at the same time that we're moving through a simple sun salutation. And if someone's not familiar with yoga, you don't have to worry about that either. I make it super user-friendly, and I use very descriptive terms, walking people through one aspect of the position to another and to another and to another, so that everyone can do it. That you don't have to understand Sanskrit terms and the yogic traditions in order to benefit from this. However, I have yoga teachers that are students of Body Awake Yoga that have been teachers for 30 years who tell me that they've never experienced yoga like this before, because it's literally pulling you out of your head and into your body, which all yoga does to some degree. But when you approach it with conscious intentionality, it changes everything rapid fire. And you immediately start having a different experience of yourself on the mat and off the mat. You find that you are more comfortable, more confident, more fluid, more flexible. Your pain patterns disappear. People's digestion improves. Sinuses and allergies and asthmas disappear. All kinds of things are happening for people. Lots and lots of anxiety and stress reactions and acute traumatic stress disorders and post-traumatic stress disorders are responding to this, because the mind and the body and the soul, or the mind and the body and the breath, same, are coming together. When they come together again, we are empowered beyond measure. It is said that the solar plexus alone carries the power of 1,000 suns. That's pretty powerful. And when we start activating that, we can feel it. We know who we are. We know how we're supposed to be approaching things. It just comes in that right moment.
Wow. Okay, so how can people begin to get acquainted or take some of your classes, your Body Awake Yoga?
Sure. So I have Body Awake Yoga membership on my website that people can join, bodyawakeyoga.com. They can go and find how to join that. And it's a simple membership monthly with lots and lots of classes that are available. And I walk you through it. There's an introductory workshop inside of there that you can get started, and it's just super user-friendly. I also have another easy access way to do that through the book that I wrote with Simon & Schuster this past year, released it, called The Energy Codes. Inside of each one of the chapters of the energy codes themselves I'm teaching you how to do specific yoga poses and telling you how to draw the breath and your energetic attention while you're doing simple things, sitting in a chair, or standing up out of the chair, or doing more complex yoga poses if you're acclimated to yoga in that way. And so those are the easiest ways to just jump right in. But if you learn more easily by having someone walk you through it and talk you through it, etc., I have all kinds of online courses that I'm teaching that are allowing people to learn from home and to take you by the hand and walk you through these things. It's not just about yoga on the mat. Keep that in mind. It's about the energy codes at large and all of these principles of quantum science and how we bridge science and spirituality and how we embody that, all of that science is showing us, so that we're literally using these bodies the way they were designed to be used. We are constantly supposed to be downloading this energy and utilizing it in this body all the time. We're not supposed to be running on our own energy. People ask me all the time, how do you do all these interviews and teach all these classes and travel all these places constantly? I'm constantly doing these things. And so I tell them, the way it is. And this is that I'm not using my own energy. I'm borrowing it, utilizing it, and I'm giving it back. And I hope to allow it to be better because I used it, and more perfected in its distortions because of where's my little poster here, of the, not sure what I did with that. Oh, this right here, that as I am working with it, it becomes more and more perfected because of my intention and how I'm learning to build more and more neurocircuitry all the time. So,
wow, that's so good. Well, show us the cover of your Body Awake Yoga book.
Well, I can't show you a pose while I'm sitting here in this chair.
No, the cover. Didn't you show me the covers before?
Yeah. So in the Body Awake manual,
this is
something that I was just taught a course in this past week, and one has an option to learn this in a modulated program where I take you step by step and teach you all kinds of things regarding the various yoga poses and what they do for us, etc. And that's available on my website, that one can learn how to do all of that. That it is, I have inside of that, pose after pose after pose, showing you the specific things that are needed to be focused on in order for specific healing or specific awakening to different parts of the body and different aspects of our wholeness, our consciousness as well.
Wow, Dr. Su, that was so good. I want to remind all of our viewers that this video interview, it comes with a PDF, where you'll get the transcripts where you can read it, but also it has all the contact information for Dr. Su, so you can go to all of her websites and see all the things that she's offering and all her teachings. And so we really, really recommend that, you've got some really good information here. You've got some ideas of how to get started. But we really encourage you to stay connected with all of our experts, because they have so much more to teach you and to learn and to help you with. So be sure and go to, well, it's all listed in the PDF, all the different ways that you can contact with Dr. Su. And so, Dr. Su, that was so amazing, so good. Thank you so very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure, always. And I look forward to being able to help people in whatever way they find is appropriate for them. Maybe it's not even the yoga piece, but just some of the coursework that I teach on all kinds of different topics. So check it out on the website and know that we have a team of people standing by every day to answer your questions and to help guide you through the many offerings of Mortar Institute. So my great pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Just one last quick question, and I always like to ask all my experts, is that I always like to tell everybody, to remind them that knowledge without action is useless. So what ideas do you have to really inspire people to really begin to take some to really act on your recommendations, actually go there and say, because a lot of people are probably saying, oh, this sounds really great, I need to do it, but then what can you tell them to really just stand up and just go for it and do it?
Well, the most important thing that we can do is start to breathe in our bellies. Just breathe in your belly. And if you breathe in your belly and imagine that there's a tube coming down through the center of your brain and the center of your throat and the center of your heart into your belly, because there is an energetic tube, a channel, and then exhale from your belly down through the tip of the spine and into the earth. And then inhale up from the earth, up through your belly, and exhale up through your heart and through your throat, and roll your eyes up and exhale out your crown. And squeeze your shoulder blades together and take a breath in again from overhead, right behind your eyes, that tension you feel when you raise your eyes up, right through your throat into your heart, squeeze your shoulder blades, and exhale down through your belly and into the earth. If in the next few moments you just sit, even after you're finished watching this interview, and breathe up and down through this central channel, you're going to feel different. You will feel different in a matter of 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Just breathing this way, inhaling to your core, exhaling out overhead, inhaling down to your core, belly breathing, not in your chest, but in your belly. Big inhale and the belly gets big, exhale, the belly gets small, and then exhale down into the earth. And then inhale up from the earth to your core and exhale up and out the top of your head. The difference that you will feel, it is my hope that that would inspire you to look into what I'm talking about. Because you breathe every day. You might as well be breathing in a way that starts to activate some of these high brain centers the way I've been talking about them, and allow yourself to be a different person in a month's time than you would have been if you'd just been breathing the way you're used to breathing all the time. So don't think for a moment that it takes you going to a yoga mat to make a difference in your life. You can start to work with breath work while you're driving your car, while you're doing the dishes, while you're making the bed, all the time. While you're doing anything in life. While you're worrying, if you would central channel breathe, you won't be able to worry like you used to worry. You watch what happens. And so it's my hope that that will inspire you to do just a little bit, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. Don't set a big goal that you can't achieve, and then you give a message to the subconscious that once again, you can't do it. Just say, you know what? For 2 minutes a day, I'm going to breathe this way, and see if what Dr. Seuss said is true. You'll find that it is, and then I hope I get to meet you someday, because there's so much more to offer along those lines. So just take it one step at a time.
I was doing some central channel breathing as we were talking, because you reminded me as I was doing it. I was doing it. That was so good. So again, thank you so much for that good information. And again, to all of our viewers, I promise you, when you begin to act on all of our experts on some of their recommendations, I promise you it'll greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So you just have to step up and just do it, right?
Yes, just begin.
Just begin. Thank you so much.
My great pleasure. Anytime.